Hi everyone. All right, first of all, I'd like to say welcome and congratulations on taking the first step toward creating a great first impression. I hope you'll enjoy this quick video on how to craft your elevator pitch and then practice it till it comes to you very, very naturally. But before I go into the presentation, I'd like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Toni Chowdhury, and I'm a success strategist. I help startup business owners translate their big ideas into real action and a viable business. So now let's get started crafting your elevator pitch. I'd like to quickly run through the agenda that we have for today. So an elevator pitch, what it is, I'm going to be discussing that, what it is not, the main goal of an elevator pitch, the most important parts of an elevator pitch, qualities of a good elevator pitch, the 4 phases of engagement, key tips to effective delivery of an elevator pitch, putting it all together, some common mistakes that we all make with our elevator pitches, and an activity. So for this part, you will require some paper and a pen. So it's up to you. You could pause the video at this time, go grab some paper and pen. And in fact, it might be a good idea just so you can make some quick notes and then come back and watch the remaining part of this presentation. So let's begin with a definition. It's not really a definition per se. A lot of people have different definitions, but this one I really liked from Mike Pagan, and this is how it reads. Carefully planned, worded, and practiced speech to introduce yourself, what you do, and what you have to offer to your target audience. Now, please pay attention to the bolded words, which are basically keywords: planned, worded, practiced, and offer to your target audience. Now, again, mark the word offer. He hasn't said that it's a sale. It's not what you're selling, but what you're offering to your target audience. And target audience is also a very important thing here. So, what are the characteristics of a good elevator pitch? It's the best way to make a first impression. It's a communication tool. It's a marketing message. Mark the word marketing over here again. It's not a sales message, okay? And a communication tool is what value are you offering to your client? And let's look at what it's not. Your elevator pitch is not a sales pitch. I put it in red because it is definitely a warning that please do not use your elevator pitch as a sales pitch. Because imagine this, you're at a networking event, say you're an insurance agent, right? You meet 42 people, you hand out your business cards, whatever, some pamphlet, brochure, whatever you have, and then you don't expect to walk away with 42 orders, do you? So it doesn't work like that. It won't happen, and that's the reason your elevator pitch is not intended to make a sale. So what are the main goals of an elevator pitch? Your goal is to be likable, interesting, memorable, to engage, and establish credibility. It's a tall order, but if you can accomplish this, you'll be successful. And again, look at the words that are bolded. You have to be likable. You have to be interesting, because if you're not, no one's going to talk to you, going forward. You have to be memorable, because we have so many things going on in our brains, so many experiences that we have. We are seeing things, we are hearing things, we are feeling emotions, whatever. It is difficult to capture somebody's mind. So you need to be memorable and stand out, in their minds when they think back about you. To engage. Well, if you don't engage, you don't build a relationship. And without a relationship, nothing goes forward. And establish credibility. Why? Because people will need to trust you. You need to be credible, because it might be that they're seeing you and meeting you and speaking with you for the first time ever. So you need to establish credibility. So moving forward, what are the most important qualities of a good elevator pitch? A hook. Now, what is a hook? It's an attention grabber. It's something that draws people in. Getting somebody engaged with what you have to say and offer. Okay, so if you liken it to a fishing hook, right? It's a shiny, bright object. It's a hook that lures the fish to the bait, and then the fish, bites the bait. So that is what a hook is in an elevator pitch as well. You're kind of reeling in your audience, so to speak, figuratively, to grab your offer. And a hook needs to be tailored to your target audience, however. So if you're selling multiple products and services, you should have multiple elevator pitches with different hooks. One size does not fit all in this case. Engagement. Why is this important? And what is engagement? Engagement is, it's probably the most important element, because at this point you're building a rapport with your audience. You're building a relationship. And even if your hook has been a little bit weak, if you fail to engage with your audience, there is no way you'll be able to make an offer, or your audience will be interested in you. A call to action. A good elevator pitch includes a call to action. What is a call to action? It is something you want your audience to do. Say for instance, you have a good cause and you want your audience to donate towards that cause, or maybe you want the person you're speaking to meet with you, or maybe you want them to buy you a coffee. So anyway, that was a bit of a joke, but however, you never know. You could just end up having them buy you a coffee, but the whole idea is to ask them to do something you want them to do, and that is your call to action. Another very, very important quality of a good elevator pitch is the length. It should be 60 seconds or less, because I'm sure right now you're already bored with my talking, But anyhow, I have to continue talking to be able to explain the whole thing to you. But if this were an elevator pitch, it should be 60 seconds or less, because you need to grab and then keep the person's attention. You don't want to lose your audience. And now let's go to see what are the other qualities of a good elevator pitch. It should be simple. There should be no jargon or noise. It should be so simple that even your grandmother should understand. And when you are actually creating your elevator pitch, make sure you simplify it and eliminate all the jargon. Maybe that's your industry-specific jargon or whatever else. That it should be simple so anyone who doesn't belong to your industry could understand. Engaging enough to impact your audience. Obviously, what you're saying should have some kind of an influence, right? You should deliver it with high energy. So imagine if you're talking to someone and you say, "Hello, my name is Toni Chowdhury and I'm a success strategist." Oh, well, I've already lost my audience. However, if I say, "Hi, my name is Toni Chowdhury and I'm a success strategist," which one sounds better? You got it, high energy. A good voice projection. Now again, you can't be mumbling. You can't just say, "Oh, hi, I'm Toni Chowdhury and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I'm saying." No, again, your voice needs to project. Obviously, you're not going to be screaming. You won't be talking like really loud. However, the projection needs to be really, really good, because if you don't have good voice projection, not good enough, modulation, you've lost your audience again. And definitely leave something behind. A business card with a photo maybe, or a brochure or a pamphlet. Now imagine this. You are at a networking event. Again, let's take the thing of 42 people that you've met for the first time. You collect maybe 42 business cards, and most of them don't have pictures. So after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you've even forgotten who the person was that you were talking to. However, if maybe even one business card had, the person's photo on it, you would immediately remember. You would connect that picture to the person and then to the conversation. Guess what? Top of mind, right? So definitely, first of all, leave something behind. And second, try to leave something behind with a picture of either you or your product or something. Qualities of a fabulous elevator pitch. Okay. Your elevator pitch actually should turn some people off. Yep, you heard me say it. You cannot do business with everyone or work with everyone. Your elevator pitch needs to be so well crafted that you turn people off. Because everyone is not your client. You don't want everyone to love you. For this kind of rejection, by the way, you won't need to go into therapy. You'll just need to learn the most powerful word in business. Does anyone know what it is? Well, if you don't, here it is. Next. Next is the most powerful word you will use in your business, in your life, ever. Because you know what? With every rejection, we tend to get disappointed, we lose hope, we're discouraged, which is very normal. However, in business, imagine you're meeting a person for the first time. They don't know you. They have no idea what what you stand for, what your values are. So they're not really rejecting you per se. What they're doing is rejecting what you have to offer to them, your product or service, not because they don't like you, but because they don't have the need for it right now. Maybe they don't know someone who they can introduce you to either, so they really have no need for your product or service at this time. So what is the best thing that you can do? Say next and move on to the next person or to the next idea. So remember this, next is a very, very powerful word. So let's go through the 4 phases of engagement. The first phase is interest. Okay, now this will lead to intrigue. I will go into these in a lot more detail in a bit, but let's go through the phases first. Next, it leads to a sale. And then finally, it leads to cash. Cha-ching! Okay, now let's go through this in a little bit more detail now. Interest. Like we started off with the elevator pitch, what are the good qualities? You have to interest them. You need to use a hook. And that is where the interest is created, which will lead to intrigue because they now want to know a little bit more about your offer, your product or your service. And that leads to a sale. Now again, it's called a sale, but this sale, mark my words, is not selling your services or products at this time. This is basically selling yourself, your idea to the person who's listening to you, which will ultimately lead to cash. Why? Because if they find that your services and products are interesting enough, you've been able to create that interest and that intrigue, they will over time turn into a paying client. So let's discuss phase 1 in more detail, interest. Open with an introduction that catches your audience's interest right away. Don't use a job title. It's boring. Describe what you do instead. What's your function? Use a teaser. I'll say, I'm a coach. Boring, right? Versus, I'm a success strategist and help people translate their big ideas into real action and a real business. What does that do? It's basically a teaser. Why? Because now you're thinking, interesting, how do you do that? How do you help people translate their big ideas? So that is where the interest leads into the next step, which is intrigue. Phase 2, intrigue. Interest should lead to intrigue, like we said. How? So, remember my audience or whoever I was talking to said, interesting, how do you do that? Well, I teach people 3 simple success strategies that they can use to set up their business, which means that they can get it off the ground in just a few months. Whoa, all right. So that in itself is powerful enough that the person who's listening to you will start to engage. I'm using visual language, So how is that visual? Because I'm saying 3 simple success strategies. So people start seeing, oh, it's only 3, and the 3 strategies are pretty simple as well. And then I'm telling them that I'm going to help them set up their business, which means that they can get it off the ground in just a few months. So I'm actually using quantifiers to make it more visual to the person. So they hear these milestones, and they're thinking, okay, I can, 3 success strategies, simple, there are 3 simple, and then I'm going to set it up in like no time. I'll be running a business. So wherever possible, use visual language. And if wit and humor come to you very naturally, please use wit and humor, because you need to gauge how a person is reacting, right? It's hard. It comes over time with experience, but every time, when you're leading a person from interest to intrigue, you actually need to read them to be able to use the correct pitch, body language, and many more things which we'll discuss later on. Again, don't be judgmental when you're making you're leading your audience from interest to intrigue, because when you're using, say, visual language, some people tend to visualize by looking far off over to their left, right? You think maybe they're not interested in you, but that's not true. That is how they visualize. So maybe they look away, or maybe they're looking at their feet, or maybe they're looking at their fingernails. It's not that they're not interested. It's just that's how they visualize. And again, even at this point, do not try to sell. So do not try to sell, or you'll push people away. Okay. Now let's go to the next phase, phase 3, which is the sale. Again, remember what I said. No one goes to a networking event, talks to 42 people, and then leave with 42 sales. So what are we doing here? You aren't selling your products and services at this stage. You're selling yourself to stay on top of mind. What is your USP? This is the point where you're actually talking about your USP. You're conveying your USP. I hope everybody knows what USP is. It's unique sales proposition. It could be unique service proposition. Some people call it unique value proposition. It depends. Everybody kind of calls it a different thing. But in the end, it is what differentiates you from your competitor. Okay? Be authentic to yourself while demonstrating your cleverness, because that's what it is. You are showing how clever you are in a certain area that somebody else is not, right? But be authentic. Don't be fake. Don't be superficial. Going from interest to intrigue to sale could take only 30 seconds. If you've got a fantastic hook, if you've engaged properly, you've led the person from interest to intrigue, really smoothly, and then you've actually sold yourself to the person. That can happen in less than 30 seconds. However, being pushy and salesy will end the interaction right there. So you have to be very, very careful that you're not overselling yourself either. It's a delicate balance. But let's look at phase 4 right now. Cash. That is the most interesting phase for all of us. So here is my audience who says, I'd love to hear more about what you do. I think I might need your services. Whoa, right there, I think I have interest. Why? Because I led him through a great phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which is interest, intrigue, and sale. And what do I say? I'd be very happy to help you. Let me invite you for coffee. That is exactly what you want. You want to, and that's my call to action, basically. So, I'm trying to invite my audience, the person I'm speaking to, I'm trying to invite him over to coffee so I can discuss, what he really needs, so I can help him, okay? Always come from a place of service. So it's going from sale to cash, though, is a slow process, because obviously, again, like I said, you're not going to walk out. I'm not going to walk out with a sale right away, right? It's going to take me time to nurture that before I can make a sale. Be memorable, so they reach for their checkbook, okay? Stay top of mind. How, again, you can go back to these slides later on and, go through that and see how you can actually become memorable. Done right, you could get a second meeting at this point. So if you've gone through the first 3 phases properly, you will end up with a second meeting. Now, let's see what are the key tips to effectively delivering an elevator pitch. Bring a smile to your face. Raise your energy levels. People are likely to remember your enthusiasm. Mind your body language. Imagine if you're standing with your arms folded across your chest, and you're kind of, that signifies you're closing up. So nobody wants to talk to someone who's closed up and who who's not an open listener, right? So you do want to keep your body language very positive. You want to sound natural, like you're in a conversation. 30 to 60 seconds max, right? Leave something behind, business card, brochure, etc. So these are, again, the key tips for an effective elevator pitch delivery. Now, let's put everything we've learned together. Decide on your goal. One size doesn't fit all, so have multiple versions of your elevator pitch. Now, when I say decide on your goal, obviously you have to decide what you want to do when you speak to your target audience. Do you want to book a second meeting? Do you want them to come maybe visit your store? What is it, right? So you have to decide on a goal. Then you have multiple versions of your elevator pitch. You write down your elevator pitch, and you practice, practice, practice. Sorry, I think I went really fast with that. Okay, no. Now let's go to some common mistakes that everybody makes. Don't be too clever, okay? Why I say this? When you're trying to be too clever, you're basically speaking down to a person, right? And nobody likes that, right? It's kind of icky if your audience feels that you're talking down at them. Avoid jargon, like I mentioned earlier. Do not use jargon so that people don't understand. Be really, really simple. Consider your competencies and skills, because you do want them to understand that, you have certain competencies and skills that your competition doesn't. So naturally, you need to play that up a little bit. But again, not in a really, overt way. Always pause. Failure to breathe is a huge mistake, because if you just keep, talking, and the person doesn't have time to, to assimilate what you're saying, they're not able to register what you're saying, it will be completely lost on them. So remember, always pause and breathe before you kind of deliver the next idea. Failure to follow up. I cannot even tell you how big of a mistake this is, because if you don't follow up, chances are they'll forget your elevator pitch because there were 42 other people pitching, right? So if you don't follow up, if you don't, touch base with them soon after your first meeting, it's more than likely they won't remember you. They would have lost interest. So that's it. You could have made a sale. You could have had a potential lead, but you've just lost that. And failure to play up your accomplishments. Sometimes it's not just your competencies and skills, but your accomplishments. Say, for instance, you have you've completed a course that very few people actually pass. You have a certificate that is coveted, and most people don't have it. That is your accomplishment. Maybe you have successfully started up and grown and sold a business. That is a huge accomplishment. So whatever your accomplishments are, play them up a little bit. All right, so now practicing your elevator pitch. It should roll off your tongue naturally. It shouldn't sound like even though it is a planned, carefully worded speech. Remember the definition in the beginning. However, it should roll off your tongue really, really naturally. It shouldn't sound scripted, even though it is, but it should be like I mentioned, it should be like a conversation. Practice till you have it flowing well. Record yourself when delivering the pitch. Now, in this day and age of the smartphone, this is so easy. Just, record yourself on your smartphone, watch the video, watch for your body language, watch how you deliver, listen to it, and then once you have it all, go back to it after a day, and then rewrite the pitch if it doesn't sound correct. Okay, this is something you can easily do. And then practice, practice, practice. And when you finish practicing, what do? You practice again. Yes. So at this point, obviously, I cannot answer questions interactively. However, if you do have questions, please don't hesitate in shooting me an email. I would love to be able to answer them. You can go to my website. It's right over here on the top, tonichowdhury.com, and you can find my contact from there, and you can shoot me an email. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. So now let's go to the writing exercise. At this point, if you still don't have your paper and pen, please go find yourself some and come back to this. Now, remember this model, right? You go from interest to intrigue to the sale and then to cash. So you have to keep this in mind when you're actually writing your elevator pitch. You're creating your elevator pitch. So follow the 4 steps shown here. So go, step by step in creating one sentence per phase, and then create your spiel according to that. So here's a formula that works well. Okay, if you're completely stuck and you're not able to kind of even write one word, this one works really well. Start with I am a, or I am, like I say, I am a success strategist. I specialize in, helping startup business owners, blah, 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 right? Whatever you specialize in, your specialty. I successfully, and again, you don't have to say successfully, you can use anything else, but use action words here. What solution are you offering to your audience, right? I help, startup businesses, take their big idea and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Which means that I'm solving a problem for you. So what is the problem that you're solving for your client? Ask them for affirmation at the end, saying, isn't that what you'd like? Because psychology says that the moment they affirm something to you, they are already sold on that idea. I mean, there are lots of great books on psychology, and if you're ever interested, again, I can just shoot me an email and I can give you a couple of books that I have read are absolutely phenomenal. And then I have, I guess, been hopefully able to give you, a good idea of how you can craft your elevator pitch and how you can practice and then go and speak to people. Go to networking events, tell them who you are, tell them what problem you can solve for them, because one, you would have identified your target audience already, and that's how you will be going to all the different networking meetings and identifying, your potential leads and talking to them, right? So keep this, keep this top of mind. Remember that your elevator pitch is your first impression, and if you've made a strong first impression, there is no way you can lose a sale. Thank you again very much for watching. And again, as I said, you're most welcome to reach out to me at any point in time. You can check out my website. You can email me, follow me on social media, anything, through any medium. I'm always available to help you. Thanks again, and wishing you every success. Stay focused.